We've got Natalie on the line, and we're talking about mental health, World Mental Health Day, as part of your entertainment section. Mick from Gillingham's been in contact, Nat. He says, today's Mental Health Day. One thing I've got involved with this year, my 2020 thing, is helping Mind. I've helped at least 2 depressed people recently, so good work for Mick. And I suppose a lot of people volunteering and helping out this year. We're going to talk to someone now who has been using their art to really help others and also channel their own creativity as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, well done to Mick. Like you say, I think recent events has really focused people's attention and minds on mental health, emotional well-being, and quite fittingly, World Mental Health Day 2020, the motto is, how can we make mental health better for everyone? And the guest that we're going to speak to today, well, he has, by, like you say, using his art, using his poetry, in the Poetry Project. And so I'm very pleased to welcome James McInerney. Good afternoon, James.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me on.
Pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. So the aim of your project is to get poetry into places that you wouldn't normally see it and open people's eyes to the joy of poetry. So really kind of making it inclusive and reaching out to people. That's your kind of, was your inspiration, wasn't it?
It was. And obviously pre-COVID, mental health kind of issues and problems were on the rise anyway. That was a thing. And I didn't really know that until I started this project in 2018. But obviously with COVID, now more than ever, we need the messages of support and help and empowerment are kind of needed, because people have now got social anxiety, afraid to go outside, and then if you think about that, people who've probably not had mental health issues before have probably got them now, and the PTSD side of this, beyond COVID, whenever that will be, will last for years. So I think it's important that kind of we look at getting positive, empowering messages out there in times of confusion.
Absolutely. And your project, it's just really gone, well, global, quite literally. It's gone nationwide, stations around the country. It started off in London. It's also gone international, and it's now landed in Royal Tunbridge Wells, because you can see your brilliant positive messages at the Royal Victoria Place. So you can be wandering along shopping and suddenly see something that can be so resonant and inspiring. And I think that's the real thing here. I think 2 things almost. It's getting beautiful words, beautiful poetry out there so people can read it that might not necessarily want to or feel that they can pick up a poetry book. But also it's the messages inside that work that might actually, for some reason, really help that person at that given moment, at that moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, we started in 2018. We started in the UK, like you said, in the underground. And then all of 2019, we went across the entire the UK, from parks, gyms, airports, shopping centres, train stations, and then we kind of touched base with America, Australia, and things are going really well. And obviously COVID hit, but we carried on online and kept the messages, and now we're kind of back outdoors again, obviously in the Royal Victoria Place in Kent, who have got kind of digital and posters of the project. And it is, I mean, we get messages every day from people who say, they would share them on Instagram and Twitter, and they would say, I need to see this today. This really helped me. And that is the point of the project. It's about getting these messages out there about it's okay not to feel okay. That is what World Mental Health Day is about. It's about highlighting people who are struggling, and the people that struggle tend to bottle things up because they think it's, we can't think that way. And with the project, we get the messages out there that are empowering, and they talk about how people are feeling. And if they can see them in public and people are kind of loving them, then they know they're not alone in their thinking. If they're not alone, then that's one kind of hurdle crossed. And that is the point of the project, is to empower people and kind of say it's okay if you don't feel okay.
Yeah, it's a thought that really is needed to be pushed more to the mainstream. And I suppose a shopping centre, there's nowhere more public. You get all sorts of people walking through there. I've noticed them myself as I've been walking through Royal Victoria Place, and people genuinely do stop and think. And all all kinds of people. You'll see them, and they will slow their step to read what you've written as your words. Are you looking to roll this out further to other places where people gather of all walks of life?
Yeah, I mean, we cover. We basically, our target was to get into places, into public areas, and to get into places you wouldn't normally see these things. So we've been in libraries, gyms, and we don't want to just be in one place. We want to cover everywhere because these messages should be everywhere. And I think what surprises people is they don't expect to walk through a shopping centre and see feelings on display. It kind of is like reading someone's diary, but by reading it, you know, people always say to me, that's how I feel. This could have been written about me. And by reading it, it makes it less taboo. And I think that is what the thing of mental health. We need to be less taboo about it, get it out in the open, and kind of throw people into the deep end and say, look, this is how I'm feeling, and not be afraid to say how you're feeling. And this is the idea of the project, is to get it on display in public places so that people can actually read how people are feeling and actually know that they're feeling that way and they're not alone.
James, how long are these posters going to be up for, the digital displays?
Not sure. Every kind of place does something different. I'm not sure, but we tend to be in places for quite a while, and people like to get the messages out there so everyone really gets to see them for long enough to get the impact of the project.
Well, James, great talking to you today.
James,
go on, Nat.
Can I? Sorry, just talking about these. Sorry to interrupt, Phil. Just talking about these amazing messages. You were saying about how it just makes you feel less alone. That you're not the only person that might be thinking this. Would you be able to, just before you leave, maybe read out a couple of these positive messages that are out and about for people to read?
Yeah, I mean, they're supposed to make people think. So, example of one would be recognise your inner strength. Flowers are often pulled from the earth, but they still have the roots and the ability within them to regrow. You do too. I mean, so that is to kind of make people stop and think. And another example would be, you will have dark days where the fog settles and your bones feel heavy. On those days, it is important that you seek out the sun, regardless of what form it takes. And
James,
they're not supposed to be long. Yeah, they're not supposed to be long, but they're supposed to be small, bite-sized things that make people stop in their tracks. Like you say, slow their lives down and say, stop and think. And sometimes when you do that, you reassess how you're thinking, and it makes a big difference. Can I just share one which really made me stop and think, because I've liked your Facebook page. So if you want to know more about James's poetry, go to James McInerney on Facebook. Also, you're on Twitter as well. And there was one that really resonated with me last week, which was, I want you to know that you are loved, even on the days when the whole world seems distant. What matters is that you understand that you still matter. Beautiful. Thank you, James. That's okay. You're welcome.
James, thank you for sharing your words with us today. You're doing great work, and hopefully we hope to see more of them very shortly.